Good morning. Happy Monday morning, everybody. Let me share this over. I hope everybody had a really great weekend. I had a crazy morning. I've had a little bit of a crazy morning. Trinity doesn't want to be at school today. And I'm getting pictures from Tim about a dog. I don't know. But anyway, all right, I can share this over. So I'm excited because this is my bag. So nutrition, I've been doing nutrition forever. It's been 8 years or something. Hi. It's been, I don't know, I've been doing nutrition since my college days, so at least 8 years ago. And so this is, for me, this, I can do this stuff in my sleep, so it's pretty exciting to do this stuff again periodically. I am always teaching nutrition inside my academy and inside some of my courses, but I don't do it as much on my personal page, or on my personal page and on my business page. So, all right, one more share here. All right, so I am curious, do you guys have, if you are, I kind of want to hear about what you feel about nutrition. Do you feel like it's complicated coming up with your one sort of, lifestyle nutrition plan? Because there's so much, and I find that this is sort of where the confusion all comes from, is that there are so many different options as far as our nutrition goes, and which one should we do? So, it starts with what our goals are really. We have to know, if we're trying to lose weight, we might do a different program than if we're just maintaining or having, a lifestyle type of a program. So one of the things that I've had to juggle in my coaching is people have different goals. They want, some people want to lose weight, some people just want to be really healthy. And so for me, because I was in college, I was pre-med and science background. And so as a coach, the health was ultimately more important to me than like weight loss or anything like that. And so I would be coaching women through weight loss typically, because I was a fitness, I owned a fitness studio. And what I learned was, I was teaching a temporary program for weight loss. I was trying to teach people how to lose weight, but then they were sort of on their own from that point on. What happens if you do lose the weight on, a really low carb, because that's the fastest way to lose weight is to cut your carbs really low. And so we could do that. We could be, I could cut somebody's carbs really low and do sort of a deprivation type diet, which is what I consider like a keto diet to be, or a super, anytime you're cutting out like entire groups of foods, to me, that's a deprivation diet, unless it's for a health reason. Sometimes I have a few friends that have battled cancer in their life and have had to, cut out entire food groups of, meat and dairy, especially in order to put their cancer back into remission, and then they can, like lymphoma. One of my friends has lymphoma, one of my best friends. And so in order to keep her cancer in remission, the team of doctors at UCLA put her on a vegan diet, and so for her, like, that's her lifestyle plan. That's just what she had to adapt to. But we have so many options, right? We see all these diets and supplements and all of these things that we could do. And I got really burnt out on the inconsistency of all of it. Having clients come in who'd been working a specific program with a trainer, and then they come in and I'm a holistic coach. And so I'm not, what that means is, as a holistic coach, is you're concerned with the entire physiology on a systemic level. So I am looking at how is it not just affecting us, on a weight loss level, but how are our hormones going to be reacting? Our endocrine system affects all of our hormonal signals, which means how we gain muscle, our sleep patterns, our energy levels. All of that is controlled by our endocrine system and our hormonal signals. And so a lot of the times people come in and they want to do the typical low calorie diets. If I can just cut down my calories, then I'm going to lose weight. And that is not an across the board thing. After coaching hundreds of women, I can tell you that there is no, I could take a dozen women, that weighed the exact same, had the exact same muscle mass on them, put them on the same calorie level, and they are all going to lose weight at different levels based on their hormones and the health that's already going on within their body. So if they are not as healthy internally, then it's going to be more of a challenge because they're not detoxed. So my goal as a coach is to get people healthy enough that they can start really seeing how their body works for them. Because we have all of these gut issues. Gut issues and hormonal problems are the two biggest things that I believe are holding women back from losing and maintaining their weight. And so that's what I'm going to get into today. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of that. So if you don't already know me, my name is Jeray Pearson. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach. I teach women empowerment and confidence as well as health practices. So if you are interested in any of that stuff, I have a free group, the Well Tribe community, that you can join for free. And then if this is something that interests you and you feel like other people might benefit, please share the video so that they have the same opportunity that you have to work through some of this stuff. All right, so the biggest thing as a holistic coach is I, above everything else, cut out all the chemicals with my clients. We are surrounded, our bodies are bombarded by chemicals all the time, environmentally, topically, and internally. So we're ingesting, the foods that we're ingesting can be doing the exact opposite of what we want it to do. So the purpose for eating food, and this is what we get, what we really get to the heart of when I do my nutrition mindset coaching, is the entire purpose of food is to nourish our bodies so that we can function in the best way possible. And we have gotten to the point in society where food is really just keeping us alive. We're not looking at the purpose of the food that we're eating. We're not in touch with ourself and our physical bodies enough to really understand the correlation between the two things. And so we've got bodies that feel ill that we're blaming on all of the other things around us. It's amazing to me because there's, we know so many people in our lives that are sick that it becomes really easy for us to just expect that in our own lives. It's almost like we're sort of waiting for a diagnosis all the time. We're waiting to find out tomorrow that we have diabetes or that we have one of these things. And I've seen time and time again, and the reason that I do this and I'm so passionate and I want to, get it through everybody's head, is I've seen the nutrition change somebody's health like 180%, 200%. People that were debilitated that are now living these amazing, really active lives and stuff. So, and I'm one of them. I love telling my story, but this isn't the time. But, I have really bad scoliosis. My neck goes the wrong way. I have an arthritis spur in my neck. I have 3 compressions in my lower spine. My ligaments are loose. I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which loosens up all of your ligaments. So it makes my fitness extremely important because it is debilitating if I let it be. And so just know that your nutrition affects you on a cellular level. And from a cellular level, our bodies are capable of anything. So that's, I guess, the bottom line. So health is above all else. And so in my mindset coaching, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm always preaching about self-love and self-care and all of this stuff, is because when you start wanting your body to just be healthy, everything becomes easier when it comes to the nutrition. So it's almost like until we can detoxify our gut health and get our hormones back on track, it's like we're just throwing shit at the wall, hoping that we're going to lose weight, hoping that it's going to stick, right? and that's really what it is. That's what and as a coach, that's what I was doing for a long time. I was like having women in tears because they've been doing everything by the book that they're supposed to be doing. But it's something else going on internally. Eating less, like I was saying, eating less is, less calories, restricting your calories. That is, from the dawn of time, we've known that calorie in, calorie out. If you eat less, you're going to lose weight, or you're not going to, you're not going to be gaining weight for sure. However, that is also not an exact, I guess it could be an exact science if you put yourself into a liquid body fat tester and you did everything, maybe then you could get really scientific on it. But the truth is, depending on how much lean muscle you have on your body, you're going to require more or less calories every day. And so that is also not an exact science. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's not an exact science. We can cut our calories. The one thing that's dangerous about that, though, is that we burn our muscle before we burn our fat. So if you have a coach that puts you on like a calorie restricted plan, just know that if you're super calorie restricted or you're in a fasted state, if you feel hungry, then your body goes to your muscle 75%. Or 70%, I'm sorry, and then to fat 30%. So just restricting your calories is going to burn your muscle, which also lowers your metabolism. So you're fighting against yourself. The biggest thing that we have to do if we want to see big results, especially women. So I will typically, if I'm just having a regular work day where I'm sitting, I burn between 1,000 and 1,200 calories a day if I'm just doing my typical on the computer stuff. When I was training, when I was a personal trainer, I was burning between 2,000 and 2,500 calories a day. And that was because I was up early in the morning. I had an hour, about a 60-minute high intensity workout every day, and was on my feet almost all day. So you can see that huge difference, right? Like I had like 1,500 calories difference between those two times. So there was no way when I was training that I could have got away with eating 1,000 calories a day. I would have been starving to death, literally. But now if I eat 1,000 calories a day, that's sadly, that's all I need. But so you can see that as you put on weight, so as you increase your weight, your body requires a little bit more calories anyway, but that is actually, you can give yourself more of a deficit at those higher weights. So, a person who weighs 200 pounds can cut their calories down to like 1,400 and still be losing weight. But a person who weighs like 140 pounds, they don't have that much of a deficit that they can really cut. So that's when the activity really comes into necessity. Like you have to have more activity the less you weigh in order to lose weight. So that's how that works. That's why when people are really training for like bikini competitions and things like that, that's why they're so strict about what they're doing. It's because when you get to like below like 23% body fat, 22% body fat, once you get below that, it gets increasingly more difficult by the numbers to lose the weight. So, I talked a little bit about the hormone signals and stuff, and the main thing that is interacting with our hormonal signals is the chemicals that we're ingesting. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So the chemicals that we're ingesting, any processed food is going to usually have some sort of chemicals in it. There's in the processing itself, they have to use some chemicals to process that out. So like, for example, protein powders, like a lot of the protein powders will claim to be extremely clean, but the processing themselves actually adds MSG. So the way that the wording is in the food industry, if you call something a natural, so let me think here. If you are using just a chemical in the processing, it's just a processing agent, you can call that a natural flavor. So regardless of whether it's actually natural or not. So there's these little stipulations that the FDA has made in order to make it easier really to label things as all natural. So, but it still isn't. And so be careful about the natural flavors. Natural flavors aren't natural. So just be aware of that. Especially if you're gluten intolerant or gluten-free, because some of the natural flavors can have gluten in them as well. So, so anyway, so the chemicals that I am talking about here are, so first of all, I want to talk about GMOs for a second. GMOs in themselves are modified organisms, right? So in a chemical laboratory, they've taken the seeds of those plants and genetically modified them so that they're more tolerant to things like pesticides and herbicides and insects, I guess. Well, not really. So how this works is these genetically modified organisms grow and they are resistant to the pesticides and the herbicides that are being sprayed on them. And this made it so that farmers can now spray a lot more and have to deal with less of, the fungus and pesticide or pests, insects. So they are doing that. So they are spraying a lot more onto our produce than ever before in history. And so that is the real problem with, genetically modified. In my mind, that is the main reason that I avoid GMO foods. The highest GMO, corn is one of the biggest genetically modified foods that you can purchase. And so corn is something that I always buy. There's a lot of reasons for this too that is a whole nother video, but I only buy organic corn for that reason, because corn is used in oils, it's used for fuel, it's used for a lot of different things, and so they mass produce corn, and so it's one of the it is the most heavily sprayed commodities that we can buy. So corn for sure, make sure that one's organic, like corn tortillas. I know a lot of the times we go gluten-free and we switch a lot to corn, and so we have to be careful that when we do that, we're not just increasing our chemicals. So pesticides, hormones, and antibiotics. Antibiotics are something that isn't necessary in a lot of the meats and things that we consume. So like chicken, for example, you can find some Purdue chicken, for example. So there's a few companies that, and I'm not like their cheerleader or anything like that, but they do a lot of really awesome environmental stuff where they don't have to use as many antibiotics. So they use oregano oil in the drinking water of for their chickens, for example, and that keeps them keeps a lot of the viruses and stuff from being able to make them sick. So there are a lot of things like that, but it costs a little bit more to do those things. So this is also one of the things with our money mindsets when we start really thinking about our health and all of this, and thinking that the organic foods and whatever costs a lot more. And I just, when it comes to that, like, I just have to say, costs more than what? This is something that always bothers me, because people say, oh, well, yeah, but clean eating costs so much more, or organic food costs so much more. Well, costs so much more than what? Poison? Like, we're talking about food that we're ingesting. And this is something that, to me, it's not, there's a lot of the times my organic foods cost less, but if you don't go to the organic section, you don't even know that. And so this is something Tim the other day was just pointing out, he was like, this costs like it was even avocados. I was eating organic avocados that cost less than the regular avocados. And Tim was like, this is really weird that these were less expensive. And it's just, they are, they can market to people who aren't looking for organic because they just believe that the organic foods cost most. So you're buying something that has chemicals in it, paying more for that because you're still thinking 5 years ago, like when it was really expensive. Organic foods have come down in price so much. So just at least be sure that you're looking at if you're in the produce section, at least be sure that you're looking in the organic section, because the prices are not that much different anymore. And I would rather spend $20 more a week and buy stuff without chemicals, and just know, hey guys, and just know that I'm doing, what I should be doing for my own health, because I love myself. So, all right, I'm going to leave it at the toxins, other than be aware that the stuff you're putting on your skin also does have toxins in it, and some of them are carcinogens. We have, I believe it's like 5,000 chemicals that have been banned in other countries that we are allowed to put in our skincare products in the United States. So we have not, we are way far behind when it comes to skincare, soaps, and any topical anything. America is not the leader in this industry at all. So be aware of that. I have options. Contact me if you need non-toxic options, because it took me 2 years to find products that, like deodorants and things that, shampoo and things that worked for me, that I still felt did what I wanted it to do, but weren't toxic. So I can help you guys with that. All right. So now I'm going to get into two things that I feel are the biggest two food allergens that I come in contact with all the time, almost every day, with my clients. So dairy and gluten. And so I personally, I try not to eat either, but I don't completely restrict them from me. I'm not, that I'm aware of, I don't have any real gluten allergy. I just know that it doesn't make me feel good. And dairy, I'm going to get into in a second. I avoid that for the health reasons that I'm going to talk about right now. But I'm not a stickler on it. I don't drink milk. I don't, I don't do it in large quantities. I might have some cheese. I love cheese, always have loved cheese. But that is something that I rarely do. And it's a really good, like usually, I'll spend like $9 on a hunk of cheese, and that'll last me for, 2 weeks or whatever. So, I make that kind of my treat. That's something that I like, and that I do. So dairy, the thing about dairy is, the biggest reason is dairy is an inflammatory. Say hi when you guys hop on, by the way. And I don't know if I'm seeing any comments right now. So dairy is an inflammatory, which means dairy causes your system to inflame, your arteries, your organs, your lymph nodes, your sinuses. It causes inflammation. It causes a reaction in our body, because our bodies are not meant to process dairy after the age of about 5. So we have an enzyme that until age 5 that breaks down dairy, and after that we no longer carry that enzyme. And so dairy becomes something where our bodies will, hey Ruby, our bodies will break it down somewhat, and we might be able to get some of the fats out of it to use and things like that, but it's not necessary for our health in any way. We can live just fine without it. The calcium that they told about, it has not scientifically been shown to decrease bone fractures, and vitamin D has been shown to actually decrease bone fractures more than calcium. There's just a lot of stuff that when it comes to dairy, I just have seen. I've seen kids not have to get tubes in their ears after they were taken off dairy. I've seen adults that have massively lost weight when they stopped eating dairy. There's something, our body starts functioning better without it, and some really awesome things happen. I've seen migraines. I've seen people with debilitating migraines for years stop dairy and no longer have migraine headaches before. So it's just, and then when you think about our intestinal tract on top of that, gut health and autoimmune disease has taken off like nothing else. Autoimmune disease is killing 1 in 10 women now. And that's just like, that's crazy, right? But it's true. And autoimmune disease is directly linked to our gut health. Our gut, as our gut deteriorates, chemicals are leaking into our bloodstream, and our immune system attacks those chemicals, which causes autoimmune issues, autoimmune psoriasis and eczema and, alopecia, a lot of skin issues, but other ones as well. We know about IBS and Crohn's disease and a lot of these things as well. But rheumatoid arthritis, when I was talking about dairy, inflammation in our joints. This is why I've had multiple rheumatoid arthritis clients, and they are, sometimes the doctors don't even, I had one client whose doctor actually wanted her to put on weight. She was really young and like 14, and wanted her to put on weight and was telling her to eat ice cream. And she had rheumatoid arthritis and was actually on methotrexate, which I don't know if you guys know about that, but it's like giving meth to a kid, and so she was on that at the same time, and he was having her do this, which was making her joints actually more painful. So, remember that, some doctors choose to learn more about nutrition, but they are not required to. And doctors, I honestly think that it's like 6 classes that they have to take in total. It's like 32 credit hours, I believe, that a physician has to take in nutrition, and it's out of dozens of classes that they get to choose from. So, depending on your physician, they might not have really any real knowledge as to the nutrition side of things. And so that's the first thing I ask, because I have a lot of people who come to me after a diagnosis. They get a diagnosis, but they don't have any real support in the medical field. And so they come to me because they need, support getting through all of the big habit changes and through all of that stuff. And the first thing that I ask them is, what nutrition plan did your doctor set up for you? And there's yet to be one. I have yet to have a client come to me where a physician didn't diagnose them and gave them a resource to use. So super sad, but it's true. So another thing, one more thing about dairy, just to get my point across a little bit, is Asia and Africa have very low, like they don't have a lot of dairy. They don't have a lot of access to dairy through the cows. So they actually have the lowest rates of osteoporosis in the world. So, we just, we don't know. And 75% of people are completely genetically unable to digest dairy at all because of lactose intolerance. 75% of people are lactose intolerant, but a lot of people just don't know that they're lactose intolerant. It's also been linked to prostate cancer. Dairy has. So, all right. So enough about dairy. So gluten has a chemical in it called gliadin. And it is, as soon as our saliva hits it, as soon as the digestion of gluten begins, this chemical is a component of it. So we start breaking down the gluten, and one of the components in it is this chemical called gliadin. Well, this chemical is actually, I don't know, they keep finding more and more out about it and about autoimmune disease, and how this chemical being released into our bloodstream is causing a lot of the autoimmune attacking. So a lot, it's such a negative foreign chemical that our body like really attacks it, like starts really attacking it. And so gluten, it's not necessarily that the gluten itself is the problem at first, unless you are gluten sensitive. So there are people that can, same as dairy, that are gluten sensitive, and gluten sensitivity can occur over time. So gluten sensitivity can show up where it wasn't there, a year ago or 2 years ago. It just, your body can change. So it's not a genetic thing. It's not something you're born with or anything like that. It can just show up at any time. So if you start having patches, of psoriasis or something like this start showing up, just know that, your gut health, it could have to do with that your gut health finally got to a point where you're able to start seeing some of the symptoms of the damage. So gluten, this gliadin enters our bloodstream and our body starts attacking it. And that is where we see some of the autoimmune reactions. So what actually damages our intestinal tract is many different things. It's the chemicals in our food first. It's the types of foods that we're eating, if we have sensitivities to them. But if you think about allergies, just even environmental allergies, this time of year, my daughter's battling allergies right now. And last year I had allergies really bad. But if you think about the way you feel when you have allergies, it's, we puff up, everything gets swollen, our head, our sinuses get congested, we sneeze a lot because of our sinuses are swollen. There's a lot of things that allergies make us feel. And what an allergy is a reaction to something. It's just like when you get a fever from the flu, right? Your body's reacting and trying to kill that virus. It's the same thing with allergies. So allergies are seeing a foreign substance in our bodies, and our body's trying to fix that somehow, trying to make us well. And so some of these things that happen within our body to try and make us well can cause issues, which is what autoimmune problems are. Autoimmune diseases is overacting, our body overly trying to protect itself from something. And we have to, if we're having autoimmune issues, we have to realize something's not right. What is our body trying to fight off? Why is our body trying to protect us? So do any of you guys have autoimmune issues? I'd love to hear about that as well. I am always interested. I can't even believe how many of my clients have autoimmune diseases. Almost all of them have autoimmune diseases, especially my nutrition clients. But so there is, let's see here. So I've been talking a lot about the things that I don't eat, and I want to talk a little bit about the things that I do eat. So in order for our bodies to be nourished, we have to shift our focus to health and nourishment. And so when I'm eating, I am looking at the things that I'm eating and sort of, I'm not calculating it out. Like, I'm not being like really, analytical about it, but I'm thinking in my head, is that really good for me? How much nutrients is in that? And I'm a nutritionist, so I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell, I know food by food kind of how many nutrients and vitamins are in them and things like that. And not everybody is there, and that's okay. But, just to have that thought where you're thinking to yourself, okay, my cells are going to be receiving this, my cells are receiving this food. Is this going to help me repair illness, or is it going to be causing illness in my body? Having just, I was like, I talked about my science background. And so I did, tons of cell drawings, right, throughout my 7 years of college, drawing out the cells and, all of the parts of the cells. And I can visualize, homeostasis. If you guys are familiar, it's like, your cells trying to make a balance from outside its cellular wall to the inside of its cellular wall. And so it will cause the chemicals to change so that you can create that homeostasis. So whatever chemicals or fluids are outside your chemical walls, they're going to be brought in, and some of the chemicals or the fluids that are inside your cells go to the outer wall. So it's just, you know, same thing as taking a thing of water and squirting the food coloring into it, and you see it all dissipate. It's the same thing. So I think about that when I'm, you know, this helps me a little bit when I'm eating and making decisions on what I'm eating, because then I can see, okay, you know, this isn't, you know, this greasy cheeseburger isn't going to be benefiting my cells. You know, this isn't going to be giving me energy. It's actually going to be doing the opposite. And so, like, you know, I'm pretty clean right now. You know, I'm pretty healthy right now. I haven't been eating anything real bad for a long time. And so my cells are pretty pure right now, and I don't really want to mess that up. I don't really want to go and eat something that's going to force all of those vitamins out of my cells. And so, you know, that's how I think about my health on a cellular level. So maybe that'll help you guys. But, you know, so the good fats are highly underrated. Good fats make your brain work better. It increases your emotional stability. Like it like makes you feel more calm and peaceful when you have the right, you know, interactions going on in your neurotransmitters. And so, which also, you know, your moods are also affected by the chemicals that we eat and stuff as well. And, you know, I've done a lot of research on kids and, you know, ADHD and things like that, and how the nutrition component that's linked to some of that. And it's huge in depression, anxiety. All of these things are very linked to the foods that we eat and can be reversed in a lot of cases. So, so coconut oil, eating avocados. I try and always have avocados here, because, you know, there's only that one day that avocado is going to be any good. And so I try and get like some greener avocados. And so that like once a day, like almost once a day, I eat an avocado or half an avocado. And it's good. It tastes good to me. It's something I do at lunchtime almost every day. It's a habit for me now. But any way to get more good fats in me, I like to do. Egg yolks, don't take your egg yolks out. You know, egg yolks are, there's a lot of science behind the benefit of egg yolks in your brain health. So, and thyroid hormones. Egg yolks with thyroid, like I almost wonder how many people had thyroid problems because of cutting out, you know, because of just doing the egg whites back in the 90s and stuff. Remember when it was like all egg whites all the time? I think about that, and I think I wonder how many people actually had thyroid issues come up because of that. But all right, so when I'm talking about good fats, I'm talking about omega-6s. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the difference, but in the American diet, hey Bri, in the American diet, you know, our omega-6s and our omega-3s, they're supposed to be pretty balanced, but we are way high on the omega-3s because it's cheap. So I was talking earlier about corn and GMOs and how cheap corn is. Well, this is it. So everything's fried in canola oil or corn oil or vegetable oil. And so those are the omega-3s, and that's what really skews the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Nuts and seeds are also, you know, good fats. Flaxseed, you know, the seeds and nuts are really good for you as well, especially for your brain and your thyroid. And then, you know, vegetables. I know, I harp on vegetables all the time. Antioxidants, I'm just going to bring up real briefly because they're so important. Antioxidants that we get from our vegetables, especially our leafy greens, but all vegetables and berries are really high in them. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up here, and we have huckleberries here. So I actually, a few years ago, did some research on huckleberries to find out what their antioxidant level was. And the University of Alaska actually did a study on them and found that huckleberries were higher in antioxidants than blueberries or acai berries. So if you, when we breathe, as the oxygen comes into our body, it releases free radicals. So just the process of breathing releases free radicals inside our body. So we all have free radicals floating around inside of our body, and a free radical is unstable. So that element, that atom is looking for to steal an electron off of another. It needs to stabilize itself, so it's looking for electrons to stabilize itself. So what it does is it takes these from, things we need within our body. And there are a lot of doctors that believe that free radicals are the cause of all illness in our body. And I don't know, I don't know for sure, but, it makes a lot of sense to me. So when we increase our antioxidants, we eradicate free radicals. So the only way to do this is through fruits and vegetables. So we have all of these people that are eating no fruits and vegetables every day. They still have to breathe, so they're still getting these free radicals in their body, but there's no way to mitigate them. And so they are, harboring all of this illness, really, in their bodies. And so, it's one of those things where it's like you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of people don't know. They think, oh, it's okay, take a multivitamin or whatever, whatever they tell themselves. But it's actually the fruits and vegetables themselves. You can, of course, supplement with your antioxidants. You can use the powders, and you can use the pills, the cranberry pills, and the different types of pills that they have. But just eating your fruits and veggies every day will do the trick for you. And the more of those that you eat, the better for your health. But it also takes away from the crap that you'd be eating otherwise. And so I've learned to just learn to love vegetables more and more all the time. So if you only have a handful of veggies that you typically eat, then start branching out and start really seeking out different things that you can eat and just try them and see what you actually love. I'm still trying stuff that I've never had before. A few years ago was the first time I had jicama, and I really liked it. A lot of the root vegetables, actually, I hadn't had a lot of until the last few years. But so I have got a gluten sensitivity ebook. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but this is just, if you think that gluten sensitivity or gluten might be affecting you in some way, it's only like 5 pages long, but I really broke down, what it is, what is gluten, why is it a problem now when it didn't used to be, what is really happening when we do eat gluten, and then, so leaky gut, I start talking about leaky gut and inflammation, autoimmune disease. So this is really helpful. If you guys want it, I will send you the link to it completely free. I might even just pop it in comments, but leave a comment on here if you are interested in the gluten sensitivity. Why don't you just leave me your email address? That will work best. You can message it to me if you want it to remain private, but just send me your email address, and then I will send this gluten sensitivity ebook out to you as well. So I have got, let me see here. So this is the last week for if you want to get in on my academy that starts next Monday. The academy is 12 weeks of nutrition, and we start by repairing our gut and our hormones for 4 weeks, actually 5 weeks, and then we reintroduce foods and start really getting intuitive with the way our body feels and things like that. And then the whole last month is all just solidifying our habits, making sure that we have our lifestyle plan. I use this, I have this really long, 18-page long workbook that's all about, crafting your forever nutrition plan. And it's got so much stuff in here, like all about your habits and how to how to set up your schedule so that it's doable and it's, you know, simplified. You know, I've got full prep recommendations on how you can break it all down and things that you can do for your food prep. It just goes on and on and on. So this is one of the things that we do inside the academy. And, you know, so we plan our own, because we all have our own foods that we love, and we all have our own habits, and we all, you know, a lot of people have family dinner once a weekend and have all of these things. And so it doesn't work for me to give you a plan. You know, it doesn't work for me to give you, okay, do this every day of the week and don't eat these things and do this and this and this. That's not a lifestyle. That's a short-term fix. And so what I'm teaching is the lifestyle, and I'm teaching people to really be real with themselves about what they need, you know, in their lifestyle. Because, you know, following other people's plans is actually where I see a lot of people going wrong. You know, they're trying so hard to do it right, and so they're following what someone else says, but that isn't aligned with them and their routines and their habits and what they feel about things. And so that's not helpful. You know, that's not where I want my clients to be at. I want you guys making your own decisions and being confident in your decisions and doing it for the right reasons, because you love yourself and you want to be healthy and all of that. And then, you know, I still eat I eat what I want when I want to eat it. That's just the bottom line of how I live my life. If I want it, I will eat it. But I don't want it as much now because I want to be healthy more than I want to eat that for 2 minutes. So, but that's a mindset. That's mindset work that took me, you know, a year or whatever of just working some of this stuff. So, all right. So the academy, we have one more week to get in on the academy if you're interested. That's 12 weeks long. And like I said, it's not, I mean, it's nutrition, but it's not just nutrition. So check that out. I will put a link to that in the description. So you guys, if you want to check that out, you can. I just opened up my self-love workbook for free. So that's a 25-page long workbook where we do a lot of self-discovery journaling. So there's 10 different lessons in there, all about self-discovery and kind of growing a relationship with yourself. And so if you want that as well, just let me know. You can leave a comment in there or with your email address, and I will get that sent to you as well. So lots of stuff going on, all sorts of things going on. If you need me, let me know. If you guys have any questions about anything or whatever, you can always reach out to me. And if you're not already in my group, that's also free to you, so you can join my group. But all right, you guys, I went like 50 minutes today, but this is something that I could talk, I am actually talking about inside the group for the next 3 days. So you guys kind of just got the overview of some of what I'll be talking about in there for the next 3 days. So be in the group if you are female and that interests you. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoons, I'm doing live trainings on this same topic all week. So, all right. So I hope you guys got something out of that. I am parched. I'm like over here dying of thirst. Good to see you though, or good to communicate. But you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll pop back in here, I'm sure, in the next day or so. Talk to you later.